Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are here today to talk about resources for learning at home. And we're going to be talking about the Wide Open School platform that we have at Common Sense. My name is Sue Thoughts, and I am the Common Sense Education Senior Program Manager, and I'm based here in Los Angeles, serving the folks here in Southern California. And my role is to support educators and parents and districts here in Southern California to use a lot of the Common Sense resources, including Wide Open School that we have here today. And I am joined by Merv Lapus. Merv,
hey everyone.
tell us who you are.
Yeah, so I'm Merv Lapus. I'm the Vice President of Education Outreach and National Partnerships for Common Sense Education. And my role is really to oversee the work that we do with schools and community partners and ensuring that, one, we are really learning about how our resources are connecting and meeting the need for schools and for community groups that are using our content and resources. But then also to make sure that we're bringing that information back and making sure that we are iterating, making shifts and pivoting as needed to make sure that the resources are valuable and that they do kind of meet the needs of just the various audiences and different communities that we support, from schools to families to kids to administrators and community groups at large. So yeah, very happy to be here, and feel free to at Sue or I or even Common Sense if there's anything you want to share about what you're learning today, anything that resonates with you, please feel free to do so at the handles that are shared here. Just a little bit of input into or insight into the organization. So if you don't know much about Common Sense, we are a national nonprofit organization dedicated to improving the lives of kids and families by providing trustworthy information, education, and an independent voice when it comes to navigating this ever-changing world of media and technology. Now with schools, we currently have over 90,000 member schools actively using our content. That includes a digital citizenship content, which is free, K-12 curriculum broken down by grade band, and addressing developmentally appropriate topics around digital citizenship, from media balance all the way to news and media literacy, fake news, and understanding how technology really works. Or having you work it in some cases. So we've got that information, as well as our EdTech reviews, resources, and privacy, and understanding how these tools are using information and what that means for you as an administrator or educator as you think about bringing in technology into your classrooms. And then also Wide Open School, which is going to be the learning portal that we talk about today. Again, all of these things are free. With that, of all the member schools, 72% of them are US Title I schools. So making sure that we are recognizing that these are resources that all kids and all students and all communities can really take advantage of. And love knowing that we are over 1 million active member educators using our resources. So we're learning a lot directly from our educators, and please keep that information and feedback coming. Really appreciate you all.
Absolutely. So at this time, all right, a lot of us are at home. We are parents. I'm a parent, Merv's a parent, and we are working here in our homes to serve both our kids as they are learning at home. And it's really hard to make sure that the school is really strongly connected with what's going on in the homes. And it's that communication, it is that support that is now, more essential than we have ever had before. And so as we move into this space, we need to keep that in mind, that making that home to school connection is the most important part of what we're doing right now. And as teachers, as educators, folks have been asked to very radically change their practice, going from a face-to-face environment into that distance learning type situation. And so with that, they've had to learn a lot of new tools. They've had to learn a lot of new skills and practices, and do this in a very rapid way. And we're also trying to recognize that families have now been thrown into this role where they are being asked to teach, support, and become the homeschoolers that they are working with here within their home environments. And so it's a new experience for students, for families, for teachers, and for everyone. And big part of what Wide Open School is trying to support all that. So Merv, tell us a little bit more about Wide Open School and what that's all about.
Sure, love to. So Wide Open School was born really from when the pandemic first started. So back in March, we saw that schools had to pivot very quickly, in the sense that kids, parents, and educators all of a sudden had to do everything from home. And most schools, if not all schools, in some shape or form, were not prepared for it fully. Especially parents weren't ready. Like, what do I do now? with my kid having to learn from home, let alone I have to work from home. So there was a lot of need there. And so as an organization, brought together a cross set of partners to really ensure that we were making a portal that would allow to meet the needs for parents and for educators. And the goal is to help families and teachers really find and use trusted resources to enrich and support distance learning. And we do that really looking at our over 75 partners strong now, where content is really important. How do we find high quality, accessible content? So free content that is available for folks to use and be able to pull it right from the site or be able to pull it and use it later on. A community that actually allows for us to learn from each other and be able to push out more information into the communities so that it is a broad reach of being able to bring these to all families. And that brings us our equity connections. Like, how do we make sure that all families get access to this? Where we know that in many communities who have technology, that they're getting access to free resources and tools quite often, and professional development and that access can be more prevalent than other communities that might not have the funding or the connections. And we wanted to make sure that we had the right partners in place to make sure that we were looking at supporting all communities, from those middle, upper income, but also especially low income communities, Latino communities, Black communities, and everything in between, right? And so that's what this site was really made to do, and continue thriving with new content and more information, because this is now a new way for learning, or a way of moving forward with learning. Digital use of technology in the classroom is in some shape or form going to be playing a role for every family.
And so, I noticed, one of the things that I noticed on that list of partners that you had there is some of those partners are, very well known, and some of those partners are ones that I'd never heard of before. But I, as a parent, know that some of that content that you just showed on there is paid content, right? Mm-hmm. And so if I'm a low-income family that may not necessarily have access or the money to be able to access some of that, that this is an opportunity for me to be able to access some of that content that is otherwise unattainable for somebody, like my family. And so I just wanted to make sure. Correct. That was brought out, because we're very proud of the fact that we're able to pull all these partners together and provide all this free content for Wide Open School. So just wanted to make that point, because that's important to me. And so if I'm an educator, right, I'm a teacher, and I see this Wide Open School platform, what is it that I'm going to do with this to be able to support the students that I serve, as well as the families that I serve? Like, how do I use this tool? How do I use this platform and get it into the hands of my kids easily and direct them to the right stuff?
Yeah. So Wide Open School, first and foremost, isn't made to be a replacement of what educators are sending home or using for instruction at all. If anything, it's meant to enhance, support, or even provide more diverse types of experience for learning, especially because we know that we're even limited with the amount of time as educators, if we are full distance learning, that we can even be doing with our kids online. So how do we find opportunities for them to have self-directed designed learning, or even activities that could help our parents facilitate and not have to operate as a direct instructor, but really help their kids to dive deeper into certain content areas, or even diversify the way that kids are learning to meet certain needs, different needs. And so we do that in a few ways, especially for educators. We want to make sure that they're finding these high quality free distance learning resources by subject, by grade level. So you can see here that you'll be able to identify the topic, the grade level that you're interested in for your kids. And as you navigate the site, which we will do later, you'll see that will follow you perpetually as you go from aspect of the site to the site. It'll always kind of stick within that grade band you're most interested in as an educator. We also want to make sure that we help your remote plans kind of have more there in case you're still looking for more information or more ways to dive deep. So the remote learning days can be filled with these independent activities for students, and again facilitated by parents or driven by students, really depending on the age. A lot of these great activities are available there for them to be able to use and just be driven there by yourself or from a parent that you're partnered with in your community. And then access to professional development. As an educator, I mean, so much of my learning has come from working with other educators, from my own personal learning networks, to being part of kind of big groups of educators that are just kind of sharing their best practices and their ideas. And so we wanted to bring some of that here as well, and make it very easy for you to have one place that you can go to and find feedback, resources, guides, ways that you can bring in these tools and these resources. Again, as an educator, one of the things you're going to have to think of, like, oh, these are typically paid. So the activities that are addressed here are activities that are connected to particular lessons or topics within the platform that have been either made free or are free, right? In order for it to be on Wide Open School. Also, we know that educators are thinking about the privacy implications of the resources and the tools. So anything that gets put onto Wide Open School, there is a privacy filter that goes through to ensure that they are not misusing student data or information in a way that would be a huge violation of use of the student using that platform. So that being said, as an educator, you'll want to make sure you're taking a look at each of these individual websites or resources and tools to make sure that one, they're in alignment of approved resources and tools that you might have limitations on, or specific things that your district is asking you to stick with, or your school network is asking you to stick with. But then to recognize that Wide Open School has a deep commitment to student data privacy, and these organizations or providers of the content also have student data, again, that's student data privacy policy. But when you're on their site, your focus on policy or privacy is going to be focused on their site, not Wide Open School. When you're on the Wide Open School site, then we are upholded by the privacy policy within Wide Open School. So important things to know there. But tons of resources, and we want to make sure that they're available to you all as you are looking to deepen or even diversify and broaden the type of instruction you provide for your kids. So I know you work with a lot of educators that have used the tool. Is there something that educators, and again, we'll dive deep into real specifics, but is there anything broadly that you found educators have said, oh, this has been great?
So I think you're going to show this next, but when I work with teachers, a lot of times that they want to do is they want to be able to find their specific content, right? I am a 9th grade science teacher, and I want to be able to filter and find exactly what it is that I want to meet. Maybe not necessarily this learning standard, but you know, this content area, I want to be able to supplement this. And so this thing here is what I think folks are most excited about when it comes to being a teacher using Wide Open School.
Awesome. Yeah. Then, so this is exactly what that's for, is to really make it easy for an educator to look at the grade band they're supporting, the subject matter that they're either focused on or want to bring in for their kids, and then really the medium of instruction. Oftentimes we might find that, you know, we want to operate out of a traditional lesson plan and be able to have this kind of online experience in a classroom, but also like, how do we bring in valuable podcasts, video, worksheets, games, interactives, ebooks? Like, there are different ways and different modalities of teaching or instructing that you can do in this new distance learning environment, and wanting to find you ways that you can search for the things that you're really interested in, or even dive deeper into the things you're already good at.
Or even things that you wouldn't have even thought about before. Like,
Sure.
Would I have thought about bringing in a podcast into my classroom? Right? But seeing that suggestion there, you say like, oh, I'm so glad that I don't have to have my kids have their screen, you know, their eyeballs on the screen all day long. I'm going to suggest this particular activity and, you know, try something different today, right?
For sure, for sure. And as you think about those different activities, or you think about the content you might want to address, here's just kind of an idea of the libraries by subject that already exist within Wide Open School. So whether you're a content, like the traditional content lead, like math, social studies, English language arts, content's right there. But if you're looking to just get your kids moving more through the Get Moving collection, you're thinking about their emotional well-being, or looking at bringing in the arts, or virtual field trips, right? And we'll look more about how we push those opportunities forward. That's all there. And especially with so many kids now, you know, in most cases, schools have been pushed to go one-to-one, have a device for every child. That means you got to really think about their comfort and their confidence in the way that they're using technology, the way they're connecting with and collaborating with, and digital citizenship is a big part of that. So what we have on our digital citizenship curriculum and those activities and resources, you can also pull directly here through Wide Open School, all in one place for everyone.
All right, so that's awesome. So glad that we're showing some ways in which teachers can use it, but you know, families are, I know I use it as a family, you use it as a family, you know, they have very different needs than a teacher would. And so
Sure.
as a, you know, as a parent, what kind of ways could I think about using this platform as a place for me to say, all right, kid, you know, I want to sit you down and you're going to find something safe to do here. You're going to find something interesting to do here. You're going to find some offline activities. Tell me how parents use this stuff.
Yeah, so I know the way I use it, especially during the summertime where there was no instructions, like I needed something to keep my kids thinking and going. And it needed to be something they can be engaged with, something that was fun, but I needed to make sure they were still learning, because I know my educators we're still figuring out what is our next step forward. And in many cases, we're still figuring that out in many school districts. So what we wanted to be able to do with this is provide an opportunity for families to find high quality resources that they can help facilitate the activity with, not feel like they have to be the lead teacher in the direct instruction, but really help support the learning for that child. And so a lot of these can also, depending on the age of your child, could be very much student directed, and they can kind of do this all on their own. But for the most part, as a family, it's great to be able to get a sense of where do you want them to dive deeper? What are the types of experiences you want them to gain? And how can you give them kind of a more robust, diverse experience in addition to what they might be receiving from school? But again, schools are limited in the distance learning space with how much instruction they can give in a day. And you're still working as a parent. Maybe you want to keep them learning with something else and something that they can actually really enjoy. And so that goes from looking at live events to video playlists and field trips offline and online that they might be able to jump into. And if you need help with some of these things, the Parent Center is there for you to really kind of get some tips on how to do this, how to set things up and prepare for virtual classrooms and stations. We want to make sure that there's some quick how-to videos and quick how-to tips so that parents can more fully embrace what this means for them and what it means for their kids and their partnership with the school, as distance learning is a part of learning right now. Another way that we want to try and make that easy is just right when you come to the website, and we'll see that when we go right live into the site, is you're automatically given this daily plan. And this daily plan is a schedule that's focused on really kind of giving you 3 core things right from the get-go: math, English language arts, and social emotional well-being. We want to make sure that we're thinking about the core areas that kids need to maintain and develop, as well as kind of the emotional well-being that's very much a part of the way that kids develop at school and at home. And we know that doing everything from home, that's something that we need to be more mindful of. We got those things readily when we were going in and out of our homes and communicating, connecting with classrooms. That being said, we know that kids are also spending a lot of time online. And so there's also screen breaks. And how do you do a screen break that still has offline learning as an activity and opportunity there? And then again, diversifying the way that kids might learn by looking into the arts, music, DIY projects, digital citizenship, virtual field trips, things that you can build into a day and provide for just kind of this robust learning experience. And again, could either help supplement what you might be receiving already from a classroom educator, or it could help really double down on particular topics that you're focusing on in that classroom, again, in partnership with your teacher.
A friend of mine back there on the daily plan, I just want to point out that a friend of mine said that every day that daily plan feels like opening a new gift. Right. Yeah. So it's like a little curated set of ideas that is presented just for you and your kids. Right. So it's, it's some activities, it's something fun, it's some online activity or offline activities. And so it's almost like somebody is, giving you a little gift every day of some fun things to do. Right. And I was just like, that's perfect. That's exactly what you want. Right.
Yeah. And I love that you bring that up because it pulls me back a little bit. Another great thing about the daily plan is you could actually look 2 weeks ahead. So if you're trying to prepare for this as a teacher,
that's spoiling it, Merv. That's totally spoiling your gift.
I know, right? I mean, it's like, why make it that easy? But we know that it can be tough, right? And just kind of projecting forward with the needs. So as an educator, you can look ahead and see how will this fit in and what are the different things I want to focus in on. And as a parent, you can always have something to prepare for as you look at just kind of the learning needs or the types of topics you want to be prepared for. And you can even go back in history and get a sense of what did you miss, just in case, you had a week break off for some kind of event or time and it's like, I want to catch back up. There's plenty of content information that'll be there so that you can go back when or if you need.
I'm joking. It's not really spoiling it. It's like the advent calendar, right? Like it's not like once you consume the chocolate, it's gone. It's still there. You can still do it again, right?
It's true. It's true. Just without the chocolate. And then in addition to that is just recognizing that there's a huge need for Spanish language resources to support kind of our Spanish speaking families across the country. And so we have the Recursos en Español that is available. And this is not like an A to A type of translation where you see Wide Open School, then there's Wide Open School in Spanish. This particular portal has been really put, a lot of effort was put to make sure that it was culturally sensitive, really understanding the way that Spanish communities better navigate and search for information and resources that are more meaningful to them. And again, we'll look and see what that difference looks like when we go into the website. But that is also a part of the Wide Open School site that should be just as easy to navigate and dive into. And then lastly is just the Family Teacher Center. We wanted to make sure that, again, I mentioned earlier, how do educators find professional development opportunities, and how do families get a sense of, how do I even do this? How do I set this up? How do I better understand what Zoom means for my kid versus Google Classroom? And, you know, how do I navigate, you know, all of these resources, tools, and this LMS? Like, what is an LMS, right? So we wanted to make sure that that kind of information was readily available for families, as well as for educators as they're looking at building their capacity to bring distance learning and resources and for learning with technology into the way that they instruct, but then also for families who now are recognizing that learning from home, you know, has further blurred the classroom and home. And so what can they do to help facilitate the learning for their kids in partnership with educators that are helping to provide that instruction? So let's actually visit. Let's jump onto the site. Let me get in there. All right. So Sue, you're seeing the landing page, yeah?
I see the landing page. We're all there.
All right. So what you'll see here, it opens up with whatever's being featured that week or that month. And right now we're looking at math, emotional well-being, just kind of the broad look here. Earlier we had resources that were focused on Hispanic Heritage Month, which I'll show you, they are still here if you want to dive into those resources. You'll also be able to see that there's a quick video here to give you a walkthrough. If you wanted to share this with someone else, you can share this video, or you can have them just click onto this link and they'll give them a quick walkthrough on how to use WIDEOPENSCHOOL. Again, you'll see that the grade bands are here, these little colored pills. You can identify K2 as an area of focus, 3-5, or 6-8. And you'll see that the daily plan, which is the first thing or the second thing you'll see outside of the rotator, will shift to that grade band that you're interested in. And again, we'll start off with math, reading, and emotional well-being as an area to start. And then as you go down, you'll see it'll be followed by a screen break. How do you disconnect in order to do something else with your hands or something in your community or with a family, and really take that time away from the screen and jump into something that is also learning focused as an activity. And then you can jump into more kind of diverse and robust learning experiences, from videos, live professional development, live tours, and then, you know, other featured subjects that might be of interest, from Hispanic Heritage Month content to getting them moving. Because if we're all stuck at home sitting down on our computers all day, when do we get up? When do we do something active? If it may not still be safe to go outside. Like for us, it's fires, so not safe to breathe outside, let alone the pandemic issue. So what can we do to keep things moving? And then a number of offline friendly materials all in one place. I mentioned earlier all the subjects. You can jump right into the subjects. And if you jump in here, you'll be able to see that the daily plan is still available here. Featured content is up here as well. And then the different collections, from art, music, digital citizenship, emotional well-being, to life skills, and some of the core areas like reading, math, science, social studies. And again, you can click into any of these things and it'll remember where you left off, right? In terms of grade band.
So can you, when you click into one of these, like what is an example of some of the content that's in there? I'm just trying to see what's in there. Like I see a video there, right? So there's, you know, there's an example of a video that it would serve up to you, or there's an example of, you know, reading, you know, after you read the poem, you know, think about, so there's, it's guiding you through, not just giving you the poem, but giving you an activity to do, right? Create something, a poem or art that captures that feeling, right? So, you know, it kind of gives you some guidance as well. And this is for middle school, I believe.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, this will be grades 8 through 12. So end of middle, or more so 8th grade, but then still just as relevant as you get into high school. And again, here's where you find those modalities for learning, from worksheets to video to lessons and interactives. You can jump into very specific things like article and ebooks, or just go to all. And then if you do find something that you like and you want to either do it yourself or share it, you can just click on watch, like this is the video you were mentioning earlier, or if you click send, it'll copy the link and you can send it as a text or an email, however you want. And then you could also just share it straight to Google Classroom if you want to put this right into your classroom. We are also working on other LMSs, learning management systems, that you can push this to just for ease of sharing. But that is all kind of in process as we speak. The other area we mentioned earlier was the Family and Teacher Center. You just navigate to the top and get right here. You'll find that there are resources. If you go straight for resources for families, there are a number of featured events that are coming up. In this case, it's a discussion coming up as part of Latino Heritage Month. And then we've got a number of other great conversations, video, and resources on parent, you know, tips and tricks for distance learning. Sue, you want to talk about these two areas? I know these are some of your favorite resources that you've been sending to parents.
Because they are. A lot of teachers have been, and a lot of parents have been really enjoying these templates. So the one on the left that you see there, the Digital Learning Pledge for grades K through 5, is, you know, developmentally appropriate for elementary students. And then there's another one here called the Digital Learning Agreement. So they basically do the same thing. It's just a way to communicate what the expectations are for digital learning. And so if I am a teacher and I have, you know, an 8th grade classroom, I might pull open this Digital Learning Agreement, and it's in a Google Doc. And what it is it's just a template that has information in there about the agreements that you make when it comes to digital learning. Like, I will be safe. I will, you know, not share information that is inappropriate. I will make sure that I'm doing my homework. I will communicate when I'm having issues, right? So it just makes suggestions as to what you can do as a teacher to make sure that you are proactively setting up those expectations with your students. And it gives you suggestions on what types of agreements you might be able to consider in your classroom. So I really like that. Similar for K through 5 as well.
Great. And then same as we're looking at resources, what are resources for educators? And you come right here, again, you'll see some featured presentations and conversations. Actually, we do a Friday distance learning chat every Friday. It's Sue and the rest of the team put together these to kind of have these timely conversations across many different needs that just are kind of our new realities around distance learning. And this in particular, we're doing it in partnership with Crayola to kind of talk about some of their resources and how they've been bringing them into classrooms to help kind of look at some of these insights around distance learning. But those will be here, and we've got over 30 of them already available that you can just pull straight here or even through our YouTube channel. And then there's also other ideas here around thinking about yourself, your own wellness as an educator, things you need to consider, let alone how do you kind of help communicate what distance learning is going to be for the families that you're supporting and for the kids that you're supporting, and then other professional development opportunities as they become available. So this is a growing part of the site that you should always kind of stay connected to and see what's new that you can jump into, what is live, and then also what's asynchronous as PD that's available for you as an educator.
And I really like that, you know, there's quite a variety of different types of topics that are on there, but a lot of the articles are, you know, they're short. They're not intended for you to spend hours and hours on. You know, these videos, the distance learning chats that we have, those are only a half an hour, right? And it's a conversation with the teacher about something, you know, that's concrete and something that you can take away as a teacher. And so, you know, I really like the variety, and I like the kind of like just-in-time type learning that happens when it comes to pulling some of the content out of here.
For sure. And then lastly, I just wanted to also show you in that same portal for, let's just go to Family Teacher Center again. There are additional resources around how to thinking about what internet access and devices do you have access to as a family, as a parent, and where might you find other resources to try and kind of help fill in that need, especially with bandwidth. Recognizing that your child that might have different learning differences, or you're looking at other family services like around food and access. We do our best to try to put some links that are kind of more nationally represented, but can help you localize and find the resources available in your area there. And then we also just know that there's been a number of other conversations happening. Kids have been seeing a lot going on in the news, and it's impacting, you know, their confidence and their kind of their realities, especially if you're young kids of color. So we've made sure that there's resources. We're also here so that all families, regardless of color or ethnic background, could really think about what it means to be equitable and socially just in the way that we think about our communities and the diverse communities that we support as educators or even as families as being part of these communities. So more resources that you can use here to point to that are available right within the Family and Teacher Center. And then up here, the last thing that we mentioned earlier was the recursos en español. Sorry about that. That is actually a great opportunity to look at some of the resources that are available in Spanish. And I mentioned earlier, just the format of it is different, where it's not broken down into different collections, but that everything is meant so that you can look at the main buckets of types of content that you're interested in right up here in the nav, but you can literally just scroll down and find the content that makes the most sense. Based on our conversations and working with Latino community and thought leaders within the community, the way in which resources are being accessed and used are typically more in kind of a smartphone mode, where it's scrolling down and finding what you need and not hopping between collections and getting lost through that navigation. It's a lot easier just to kind of scroll down, find what you need, or click right into the topic of interest, and then give you the information you need at that point. So that's all here and available also on the site. Sue, any other insight just in terms of how you've seen that used, or
I think one of the things that, like, as a teacher, right, if I'm using Schoology, I noticed down there on the bottom of your list down there in the bottom right hand corner, you know, if I'm a teacher and I'm using Schoology in my classroom, I would want to send home, you know, this video to my Spanish speaking parents so they have an understanding of why I'm using this tool. We also have it available in English, but as a teacher, you want to be able to communicate your use of education technology tools to your families to have them understand what is the purpose of this tool, how do I help support my kid who's using this tool, and, you know, what's the expectation around it. So, you know, with anything like Microsoft Teams or Schoology, I love that these are in there. They're not just available in English, but if you have Spanish speaking parents and families, that these are also available in there. So I love those videos.
Great, thank you. And then I want to get us back to the deck, because there are some things that are on the horizon that I want to make sure you also knew. So I mentioned earlier, just kind of on the collection, the collections right now, there's a whole offline collection. So if there are activities that you're looking at sending to families, or you as a parent are just looking at what are all the offline activities I can take in, because we're limited with time and bandwidth and access to just keep our kids online. So let's take things offline that we can and just get a whole list of them. You can click into that collection. We are adding in our ratings and reviews. So something that we do within Common Sense is to really evaluate how effective pedagogically, how well designed, and also just kind of how much support you can get from integrating certain tools into your classroom that are meant to meet certain needs. So we want to make sure that was integrated into these activities moving forward. So that's something you'll see. And then also just a privacy evaluation. Again, how do we make sure that we give you at least some insight into the privacy implications of these tools that are being shown here or recommended. I showed earlier just kind of the new send to feature that's there. We'll be adding new LMSs soon, but that part is there. And then there will be a new save to favorites area that'll be there soon, which, much like a Pinterest board, you'll say, I like these, and start to kind of like create your own boards, if you will, of activities that you really enjoy, or that you might want to be able to share with others. And so it's a good way of kind of curating what we've curated for you to meet the needs that you're interested in. And then also just expanding the video library for students. Video is such a strong medium for instruction. We just wanted to find additional good content, because especially as you think about diversifying the voices and the experiences for kids now on this kind of online learning chat, it's an opportunity to bring in high quality speakers and thought leaders and well-created video just into your instruction if it fits. And so we want to help in trying to bring those things to you in a more seamless way through a single portal like this. And then lastly, we rely heavily on feedback from our educators, like I mentioned, and like Sue does on the ground there in Southern California. We get insight and we get feedback, and that feedback goes directly into the way that we iterate and create for not just Common Sense, but Wide Open School as part of Common Sense. So always great to get this feedback from educators, and would love to get feedback from you all as you dive into this resource and tool. Every bit of insight helps. We want to make sure we're doing it right by educators and for families that are using the tool. And then lastly, wideopenschool.org is kind of that one portal, you know, hopefully that you'll need to kind of dive in to expand some of what you're doing for distance learning. Please feel free to jump in and also let us know. So I mentioned we thrive on really your feedback. edsupport@commonsense.org. That'll get to us. So please feel free to send the feedback there, or you can send them, you can @ us on Twitter and Facebook and at the handles that we shared earlier, and we'll make sure that we can communicate those messages out. And lastly, we just want to say thank you, but I'm going to stop share right now. And if there are any other questions, please feel free to share. Otherwise, I'm going to stop recording, but allow for any questions to be presented, if anything. Otherwise, thank you for the time. Sue, thank you for helping to collaborate on this.